Santa Monica, California, a picturesque coastal city bathed in sunlight, where dreams are born and nurtured against the backdrop of the Pacific Ocean. Known for its iconic pier, bustling boardwalk, and serene sunsets, Santa Monica has long been a haven for dreamers and achievers. But beneath its radiant facade lies a darker reality, one that occasionally emerges to shatter the idyllic image of the city by the sea. In 2008, a heinous crime unfolded here, sending shockwaves through the community and staining its sunny reputation. A young woman named Juliana Redding, full of life and aspirations, met a brutal and untimely death. Her life, once filled with promise, was cut tragically short in a manner so horrific that it left her family and friends devastated, and a city grappling with questions that seemed to have no easy answers. In 2008, a heinous crime unfolded here, sending shockwaves through the community and staining its sunny reputation. A young woman named Juliana Redding, full of life and aspirations, met a brutal and untimely death. Her life, once filled with promise, was cut tragically short in a manner so horrific that it left her family and friends devastated, and a city grappling with questions that seemed to have no easy answers. What made this case particularly haunting was the sheer contrast between Juliana's vibrant life and the grim circumstances of her death. Here was a young woman, just 21 years old, who had moved to California to carve out a future for herself. With her striking beauty and undeniable charm, Juliana seemed destined for success, balancing her studies and finance with her passion for modeling. She lived in a modest apartment in Santa Monica, a space she proudly called her own, a symbol of her independence and drive. But that independence came at a cost. On a quiet March evening, the world Juliana had worked so hard to build came crashing down in a moment of unspeakable violence. Her murder was not just an act of rage, it was a calculated strike that left investigators and later the public horrified by the chilling implications. Santa Monica, once a symbol of hope and possibility, became the epicenter of a chilling mystery. The streets that had witnessed Juliana's dreams now bore the weight of her tragedy, as detectives worked tirelessly to piece together the events that led to her demise. It was a case that would expose the vulnerabilities hidden beneath the surface of even the most serene communities, proving that even in a place like Santa Monica, where dreams are supposed to flourish, they can just as easily be extinguished. And where every unsolved mystery holds secrets longing to be revealed, step into the shadows and discover them with hidden truths. Juliana Redding was born in 1986 in Arizona, into a loving middle-class family. Her father, Dr. Greg Redding, was a well-respected physician in their community, known for his dedication and compassion. Juliana grew up surrounded by love, support, and high expectations, embodying the image of the perfect daughter. She was not only stunningly beautiful with her sweet smile and striking features, but she also possessed a kind heart that endeared her to everyone who met her.
She was the light of our lives. Juliana was intelligent, beautiful, and had this incredible ability to make everyone around her feel loved. She wasn't just our daughter, she was our inspiration.
From a young age, Juliana exhibited an infectious zest for life. She excelled in her academics, had a natural flair for the arts, and was always eager to take on new challenges. Her friends described her as the kind of person who lit up every room she walked into. At the age of 21, Juliana made the bold decision to leave Arizona and move to California to pursue a modeling career. Despite her parents' initial concerns, she was determined to prove her independence. While studying finance at UCLA, Juliana took up modeling gigs on the side, using her earnings to support herself. She rented a modest apartment in Santa Monica, a place she affectionately called her sanctuary.
I feel like this is where I'm meant to be. It's not big or fancy, but I'll make it my own little haven. I love waking up to the sound of the ocean, knowing I'm building my future.
Juliana's days were a delicate balance between her rigorous studies and the glamorous, fast-paced world of modeling. She was known for her professionalism and charisma on set, often earning praise from photographers and fellow models alike. Juliana's apartment, though small, was a reflection of her vibrant personality. From the carefully chosen decor to the fresh flowers on her kitchen counter, it was clear she had worked hard to make it a home. No one could have imagined that this cozy apartment, once filled with laughter and dreams, would soon become the scene of an unspeakable crime. The same apartment, now eerily quiet and dark, with police tape visible through the half-open door. Juliana's life, so full of promise, was about to take a dark and tragic turn. The dreams she had fought so hard to realize were extinguished in a single night of horror, leaving behind only questions, grief, and a mystery that would haunt Santa Monica for years to come. March 14, 2008, seemed like an ordinary day in the life of Juliana Redding. That evening, she spoke with her mother over the phone, a ritual they shared regularly. Despite living miles apart, their bond remained strong, and these calls served as a comforting connection.
Don't worry, Mom. I'm fine. I'm meeting a friend tomorrow. I love you.
Her mother, blissfully unaware that this would be their final conversation, responded warmly. It was a fleeting moment of reassurance, one that would echo in her memory for years to come. The next day, concern began to grow among Juliana's friends. One of them, unable to reach her through phone calls or messages, decided to check on her. As they arrived at her modest Santa Monica apartment, the first sign of unease was the unlocked door. Hesitant but worried, the friend stepped inside. The scene that greeted them was nothing short of horrifying.
I need the police. There's a woman. She's dead in her apartment. There's blood everywhere.
Juliana was found in her bedroom, lying on the bed. Her face bore the unmistakable signs of violence. Bruises marred her once beautiful features, and the evidence of strangulation was clear. The brutality of the crime was compounded by the eerie stillness of the apartment. While most of her belongings remained undisturbed, subtle signs of a violent struggle were evident. A broken lamp on the floor, a chair tipped over, and faint smudges on the walls that told a story of desperation. The Santa Monica Police Department immediately sprang into action after Juliana Redding's body was discovered. Upon securing the crime scene, they collected vital evidence, including several DNA samples and fingerprints that did not belong to Juliana. The investigation was off to a promising start as they worked quickly to establish a timeline of events leading to the tragic night. The absence of forced entry and the chaotic state of Juliana's apartment suggested that the crime was driven by intense emotions. As a result, the detectives turned their attention to those closest to her, beginning with her ex-boyfriend, Michael Gargiulo. Gargiulo, known for his violent past, had a tumultuous history with Juliana. His criminal record, which included several violent offenses, made him a prime suspect right from the start. Gargiulo was brought in for questioning, and his reaction was immediate and defensive. He vehemently denied any involvement in Juliana's death, claiming that he hadn't seen her in months. His tone was sharp and defensive as he repeatedly asserted his innocence.
I had nothing to do with this. I haven't seen her in months. Don't try to blame me for something I didn't do.
Despite his protestations, the evidence didn't align with Gargiulo's story. His fingerprints were not found at the crime scene, and no physical evidence placed him at Juliana's apartment during the time of the murder. The investigators found no concrete links between him and the crime, but they continued to scrutinize him given his violent history. As the investigation continued, another key lead emerged. Juliana had been romantically involved with Munir Uwaida, a Lebanese businessman with whom she had a brief relationship. Uwaida had close ties to Juliana's father, Greg Redding, through business dealings. This connection quickly raised red flags, as it was revealed that Greg had recently turned down a lucrative business deal with Uwaida. The timing of this rejection, just days before Juliana's murder, was too coincidental to ignore. The detectives dug deeper into Uwaida's background and discovered that he had a reputation for being aggressive in both business and personal matters. He had been known to use his wealth and connections to manipulate situations to his advantage, a trait that made him a strong suspect in the investigation. Despite his public persona as a successful businessman, there were whispers about his involvement in shady dealings and abusive relationships. Moreover, the nature of Uwaida's relationship with Juliana had reportedly become tense. Friends of Juliana spoke of how he had been possessive and controlling, despite her attempts to distance herself from him. There were even rumors that Uwaida had attempted to manipulate her into rekindling their relationship. As investigators followed these leads, they began to wonder if Uwaida's frustrations with the business rejection, and perhaps with Juliana herself, had played a part in the murder. The more the detectives uncovered, the more the investigation seemed to circle back to Uwaida. Despite the lack of direct evidence linking him to the crime, the motive, opportunity, and troubling behavior painted a picture of a man who might have been willing to go to extreme lengths to get what he wanted. As the case progressed, it became clear that the investigation into Juliana's murder would not be an easy one. With multiple suspects, a tangle of personal and professional connections, and a community reeling from the tragedy, the detectives had to remain focused. Every new clue seemed to raise more questions than answers, leaving the investigators with the daunting task of uncovering the truth behind Juliana Redding's brutal death. The search for answers had only just begun, and with each piece of evidence, the investigation grew more complex. Was it Michael Gargiulo, the vengeful ex-boyfriend, or was it Munir Uwaida, the businessman with a hidden agenda? The detectives knew one thing for sure: the truth was out there, and they would stop at nothing to find it. DNA found at the crime scene matched that of a woman named Kelly Sue Park, an employee of Munir Uwaida. Kelly was known as Uwaida's powerful woman, a person who handled his more complicated and delicate matters. The discovery of her DNA at Juliana's apartment raised immediate suspicions, connecting her to the crime in a way that couldn't be ignored.
Why does your DNA appear in Juliana's apartment?
I don't know. Maybe I met her once or twice before. But I didn't kill anyone.
The detectives couldn't shake the feeling that Kelly was hiding something. As she maintained her innocence, the connection between her and Juliana became harder to ignore. Kelly's role as Uwaida's trusted associate, combined with her presence in the investigation, added another layer of intrigue to the case. The connection to Munir Uwaida, her employer, also raised questions. What was her relationship with him? And how deep did her involvement go in the events that led to Juliana's tragic end? In 2013, Kelly Sue Park was brought to trial, charged with the murder of Juliana Redding. The prosecution argued that Kelly had been instructed by Munir Uwaida to kill Juliana in order to send a message to her father, Greg Redding. They painted a picture of a cold, calculated crime, a deliberate act of revenge orchestrated to exert power over a prominent figure.
This was not a random act of violence. This was a meticulously planned murder. Kelly Sue Park was the instrument of that plan, carrying out Uwaida's orders with precision.
The defense, however, fiercely contested the charges, arguing that there was insufficient direct evidence linking Kelly to the murder. They claimed that the presence of her DNA in Juliana's apartment could have been explained by a number of innocent circumstances.
There is no direct evidence that links my client to the murder of Juliana Redding. Her DNA may have been found in the apartment, but that does not prove she killed her. There are countless reasons her DNA could have been there.
The trial became a media sensation, with headlines focusing on the glamorous and mysterious connections between the key players: the wealthy, powerful Uwaida, the enigmatic Kelly, and the tragic victim, Juliana. As the defense tried to sow doubt, the prosecution remained adamant that the crime was part of a larger scheme orchestrated by Uwaida to intimidate Juliana's family and assert control over his business dealings. Each side made their case, but it became clear that the truth was far more complicated than anyone had initially imagined. Would Kelly Sue Park be convicted, or would the jury find enough reasonable doubt to clear her name? The fate of both Kelly and the mystery of Juliana's tragic death hung in the balance. Despite the compelling DNA evidence, Kelly Sue Park was ultimately acquitted in 2013 after the jury failed to reach a unanimous verdict. The case of Juliana Redding's murder became one of the most controversial and widely discussed cases in recent years. The acquittal left the community stunned and divided, as many felt that justice had not been served. For Greg Redding, the father of Juliana, the decision was a blow that deepened his grief. He was determined to continue his fight for justice, not only for his daughter but for the truth that seemed to be slipping further away with each passing day.
Justice isn't just about punishing someone. It's about bringing the truth back to those who have passed. My daughter deserves to have the truth told, no matter how difficult it may be to hear.
While Kelly's acquittal brought temporary relief to her, it did little to heal the wounds of the Redding family. The lack of closure weighed heavily on them, as they were forced to live with the haunting uncertainty of who was truly responsible for Juliana's death. The case remained unresolved, casting a shadow over their lives that they could not escape. The pain of losing Juliana was compounded by the knowledge that the answers they had so desperately sought had not been fully uncovered. The tragedy had left a scar on the city of Santa Monica, a place that once symbolized dreams and endless possibilities. Now it was marked by the memory of a life cut short, a family in mourning, and a mystery that would never be fully solved. Juliana Redding left this world far too soon, her youth still blooming, her life still unfolding. But her case serves as a poignant reminder that behind the relationships and the promises of success, there can be dangers we never see coming. While justice may not have been fully served, her memory lives on, forever etched in the hearts of those who knew her. Her story, though filled with sorrow, is also one of strength, a life that shone brightly, and a family that continues to fight for the truth. And though Juliana is no longer with us, the lessons from her life and the quest for justice will never fade. As the night falls over Santa Monica, the legacy of Juliana Redding endures, a tragic yet powerful reminder of the fragility of life, and the unpredictable dangers that can lurk behind the facades we trust. The end of Juliana's story is one of painful loss, but also one of enduring hope, a lesson in remembering the power of truth and the importance of justice, no matter how elusive it may seem. Thank you for joining us today. If you enjoyed this story and want to dive deeper into more intriguing mysteries, be sure to subscribe to Hidden Truths and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update.